my friend Mr. Pramod Chaudhary, members of the larger Praj family, Mr. Pankaj Srivastav, and members of the BSI family, and ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed my pleasure to be here this evening with all of you, because sustainability is a matter of passion for us as much as it is for Praj. I firmly believe that business has to be done in a sustainable manner, so that not only we in this generation enjoy the fruits of this business, but our progeny in generations to come continue to live in a comfortable and conducive world. And so in the light of that, I'm very happy to see the work that you are together doing to increase the sustainability. I'm very happy to see the initiatives that are being taken by Praj in this regard. I've been requested to speak on the technology drivers for the green supply chain. And what I would like to do is to talk about what is changing in the world, and what are the things that are causing that change in the world, and what does it mean to you and to me in the world of business. So I think that could be possibly a relevant area to address in this short talk that I would like to give. I need not belabor the point that environment is becoming a big issue, and my previous speakers have talked about it. And so the impact of the bad actions of humanity are visible everywhere, and there is a general sense that we cannot continue to do with the environment what we have done over the last 150 years after the Industrial Revolution, but especially in the last 2 or 3 decades. And I believe that the public perception about this problem is increasing day by day. And therefore, there is, I should say, so to say, a demand created for better technology solutions. Fortunately for all of us, there is also a supply. There is also a supply of solutions which is happening on account of new technologies which are coming in which are becoming available now. And in my opinion, the rate of technology development is indeed very, very exciting. So, I think you can look at technology development maybe by 2 indices. How much new technology is being developed every year, and secondly, how quickly that technology is spreading in the whole of the society. So if you have to look at the speed of development of new technology, and you can judge that by the number of patents filed, the number of scientific papers filed, etc. And you would see a very distinct increase in that whole in the whole pace of new technology development in the last 1 decade. Earlier, the new scientific papers and the new scientific patents used to come out of US and maybe Germany and Japan. And now you see a lot more coming out of China, coming out of Korea, coming out of India. And so there is this whole big movement towards new technologies being brought to the fore. The second thing, and which is I think far more important, is the what can be very broadly said as the democratization of new technologies. The rate at which they are percolating to the whole society, the speed at which they are impacting the lives of each of us. And the interesting statistics quite often in that is how many days it took a technology to hit 50 million users world over. Okay, 50 million users world over. And there is some very, very interesting statistics which I'd like to share with you. So the first main technology that came into the play in the world, and as was brought in by the earlier presentation by Pankaj, was the electric, the new loom, not the hand loom, but the power loom. And that changed actually a lot of things in the world. It took 119 years to increase the number of spindles to 50 million. It took 119 years before the 50th million spindle was brought into the world. It took telephones 75 years for the 50 million phones to be in use. 75 millions for telephone. Radio 38 years. You can see the shrinkage almost half. TV 13 years it took. Internet 4 years. Facebook less than 3 years. Reliance Jio 83 days. Just shows the speed at which new technologies are touching the world. Now there are some, as I said, on one side there is a demand because of consciousness of environment. On the other hand, there is a supply of solutions by virtue of new technologies coming in. And in my opinion, there are 6 or 7 technologies which are very, very critical, which are touching the lives of all of us, and which will touch the lives of all of us in our businesses in the next decade or so. First is the whole technologies of sensors. Sensors to sense movement, temperature, pressure, magnetic field, electrical field, and a whole lot. Now you need sensors to find out what is happening actually in the world. And over the last few years, the number of sensors in the world is increasing very substantially, and their cost is going down. And so the change in the sensors, cost, and availability is a major trend that is happening in the recent past. The second is, of course, computing power. And what do you do if you just have sensor? With sensor, you have data. You have to do something with the data, and for that, you need computing power. And the rate at which the computing power is expanding is phenomenal. I mean, we all know about Moore's law and all that. Short data point. Supercomputer Cray 2 in 1985 had a certain amount of computing power, which is now there available in our iPhones. So you can just see what is the rate at which the computing power has changed. The third major change in the whole area of software technologies. And with neural networks, with deep learning, with artificial intelligence, the way in which software can address the data and the way in which software can use the computing speed is just extraordinary, which means far more complex problems can be solved with much less hardware in far shorter a time, and which is a major impact. And that's an impact that's going to be seen by all of us in the years to come even more. Telecommunications. So, if you have computing power, if you have software, you have sensors, you can do something locally. But you have to be able to spread that result to multiple people, multiple places, and telecom is therefore a major important component of this change in technology. And as you all know that the speed measured for telecommunication is growing up rapidly year after year. So 1G was 2.5 kbps, kilobytes per second. 4G is anywhere between 100 mbps to 1 gigabps. So very huge, 50, 60 times the change in the speed. Not only the speed of communication is changing, but also the number of people using communicating devices is changing. For example, India alone has 1 billion subscribers. If you look at the number of subscribers to internet, it has grown like almost 70% every year for the last 70 years. So the velocity in terms of usage of telecom equipments is going up very high. There is much work which is being done in nanotechnology. And nanotechnology is a technology at the level of atomic or subatomic level, and which has all the good things that we saw in the presentations about 3D printing and all other things. Robotics, a major change happening. Earlier you would want to use a robo only where work was too drudgerous or dangerous or dirty. But now with the reduction in the cost of robotics and better computing power, you will use robotics in almost everything. So many new processes will get robotized. Genetics, that's another area where things are changing. Now, these are the 6 or 7 technologies where major changes are happening. But the most exciting thing is happening at the confluence of these technologies. So for example, if you have good sensors, you have good telecom, you have good high computing power, you have an autonomous car. If you have good databases, good artificial intelligence, you have Uber or you have Airbnb. So it's a combination of these technologies that can make a big difference. And so if you have an autonomous car, you can easily imagine, you can have a situation where driving can be safer. You would probably use an autonomous car to go from your home to a nearest station and thereafter use public transport. If you have a good telecommunications facility, you will probably use more public vehicles because you will know exactly where the next vehicle is coming, how you can travel by that. And imagine the impact of all of this on an urban environment. I mean, talking about green, we all know how bad the weather is in almost all the cities. My throat is a testimony to that. But if you have clean transportation, if you have connected transportation, if you have lower transportation, obviously I think environment can be much better. So, if you look at almost every aspect of our work, whether it is the automotive industry, whether it is a travel industry, say for example, this is like off-quoted thing. The world's largest hospitality industry has more rooms under its control than the 5 biggest hospital chains in the world, but they don't own a single room. Okay, and we know, who I'm talking about. The largest car servicing company like Uber has no vehicles on its own. Okay, so the business is changing by virtue of these technologies coming together. So it is very evident that some core technologies are going to make a big impact on almost every aspect of our life. And it is very evident that the rate of change of these technologies is going to increase more and more in times to come. So what does it mean to us? I think what it means to us is that the speed of business is going to go up very much. It also means that a lot more personalization will happen in every product that we sell. So you may not be selling a single kind of standardized equipment to all, because every person's needs are different and you will sell something different to him. I believe it will also make an impact on the business models, because a customer will probably not ask for a product, he will ask for a service. And so business model where you get paid by the results rather than by getting paid for the equipment that you give is going to come in. Secondly, I think the world is going to see far more of shared economy than the owned economy. Considering the change that is, look at the change that is happening in developed worlds today. Last 10 years, every year, the number of new driving licenses issued in major American cities is coming down. Every year, the number of licenses issued in a city like, in a country like Japan is going down over the last 10 years. What it means is that people would like to share the vehicle owned by someone rather than own his own vehicle. So you would see service given through a shared mechanism. You would see service given through a business model of being paid for the service rather than by the product. So these are the changes which are going to happen, and I think these changes are going to affect every one of us. So what does it mean for you and me when we run our businesses? To me, in my opinion, 2 things are important. I think all of us will have to put far more intelligence in the product that we sell. And when I say intelligence, I mean some sensors, I mean some computing power, I mean some data transmission power, so that you are able to manage and monitor every activity of your asset on a far more ongoing basis. So putting that intelligence in our products is going to be important for all of us, whether we are a small manufacturer or a large manufacturer. I would also think for any large company, the business will move from a product to a platform. And when you move from a product to a platform, again, you can you can definitely expand the scope of your business. These are the 2 changes I believe that are going to happen in our lifetimes in our businesses. These 2 changes, in my opinion, will actually result in sustainable solutions. So in a situation where there is shared economy, there was, interestingly, there was a study done by MIT in New York, which has 13,000 taxis. And they said that if there was a software infrastructure and a telecom infrastructure across New York, you would be able to run the city transportation with 4,000 cabs where you would not have to wait for more than 4 minutes to get a cab, and you will not have to walk for more than 100 meters to get a cab, if you are willing to do shared usage of cabs. Now you can imagine the impact of this on green. So I think there is going to be an impact on the products that will be manufactured, the way they will be shared, the way they will be interacted with, and the new business model which will come in. So I think all of this augurs well for green sustainability. I personally believe that over the next 20-30 years, much will change in the way in which all of us will do business. I think our products will have to become more intelligent. Our services will have to be more focused to our customers' needs with more personalization, and we will move, those of us of a certain size will move from a product business to a platform business. These are interesting times, I believe. Of course, we will see some results of that in terms of economic development, but I believe that at the end of another 20-30 years, we will see a very different world, which is truly green. And I must compliment Praj to take a strong initiative in this area to help this future come to us faster. Thank you very much.